The night I saw the king's guards carry the body away, I knew everything was wrong. Our king, Oba Adisa, was once loved by everyone. He ruled the village of Oloran with strength and fairness, or so we thought. But whispers started, small and quiet at first. People disappearing in the night. Families weeping in silence, afraid to speak. And then it happened to someone I knew, my uncle, Kola. Kola was a kind man who carved wooden masks. He'd tell stories while he walked, stories of gods and spirits. He was never afraid, always laughing, even when the stories turned dark. But one evening, he didn't come home. My mother's eyes were full of worry, but she didn't say anything. Nobody did when people disappeared. I couldn't stay silent. That night, I followed the king's guards, keeping to the shadows. They walked with hurried steps, carrying something wrapped in cloth. I could see a hand hanging out, limp and pale. My heart pounded as I realized it was my uncle. They took him to a clearing near the forest, a place where the king often went alone. Hiding behind a tree, I watched. The king stood there, his face cold and distant. In the glow of the torches, I saw symbols carved into the ground, dark and deep. The air felt heavy, like it held a secret I wasn't meant to know. Oba Adisa raised his hands and muttered words I couldn't understand. Then he turned to the body, eyes glinting with something sharp and hungry. I wanted to run, but my legs felt rooted. Suddenly, a gust of wind circled the clearing, and the shadows seemed to shift and twist. The body sank into the earth as if the ground had opened up to swallow it. The king smiled, a smile that looked nothing like the kind leader we knew. It was cold, hollow, like he traded something important inside himself for that moment. I crept back, shaking so hard I thought I'd fall. The king was no ordinary man, he was feeding the earth, feeding something hidden beneath it to keep his power strong. I realized why the missing never returned, why the village had grown quieter, more fearful. The next morning, the king stood in the market, announcing that our village was blessed, that we would grow richer and safer. People cheered, not knowing what it cost. I never told anyone what I saw. But every night, I watched the forest, waiting for the next soul to be taken. And I knew the king's power was built on secrets and sacrifice. And with each disappearance, the ground beneath our feet grew darker, heavier, with the burden of our silence.